Settle down, brother. This is the Quarter Report powered by ENCA.com. South Africa is a movie. Welcome to the watch party. It is 1 week until the start of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which is almost certainly going to be one of the most important and influential reckonings in modern South African history. It's going to deal with police corruption, widespread fraud, political interference, and meddling. It's certainly going to expose some of the most powerful politicians and members of the police force and intelligence and security and maybe even SANDF in South Africa. But there's more going on at the same time because there are ad hoc committees in Parliament who are also going to be investigating General Mkhwanazi's allegations that he made in that now iconic, honestly, press conference a while back. Earlier this week, Julius Malema almost borderline spoke out against General Mkhwanazi in an extraordinary display that we're going to dig into because I think it got misreported a bunch. Also, just yesterday, Shadrack Sibiya lost his High Court case to be reinstated to go back to work after he took current Police Commissioner Mkhwanazi to court over what he calls suspending him in disguise. So we're going to get into all of that. Welcome to the show. The only place to watch the full thing is on ENCA.com. If you're watching right now on YouTube, click on the link in the description. And if you want to support us as a project, as a team, you can go to the second link, www.3beaniesnetwork.com, and get some of your own 3 Beanies Network merchandise like I am wearing right now. Let's talk about the Madlanga Commission. So I guess in some way we can be happy that the Justice Department has got them secure laptops. If you didn't know, that's literally the reason why it's late. It's going to be 17 days late. It's going to start on the 17th, which is literally Wednesday next week, in a week's time. And it should have started on the 1st of September. It absolutely did not, literally because the Justice Department didn't secure them secure laptops. Stuff the Justice Department has been doing and should be able to do and continue to do. But they finally got them laptops amongst other kinds of infrastructural hardware to start on the 17th. So that's good, even if it's late, and even if the Deputy Director General and maybe even the Director General of the Justice Department are now under investigation for screwing that up.
Did they manage to get the building, though?
What?
Since the beginning, the list was secure laptops and a building.
They couldn't get a building?
Well, this is my thing. Surely they must have an office somewhere.
I mean, I hope so. Like, it's the Madlanga Commission. Like, surely they could find...
Yeah, but we said the same thing about laptops, so...
Yeah, that's true. On the TV show, like, our biggest Uya waster is Gauteng Department with, like, those, I want to say, billions rand worth of buildings wasted, in that they've been renting buildings. Remember, they've been renting buildings instead of using buildings they have?
My favorite one is the parking spaces that cost tens of millions of rands in Cape Town.
For Nisvas.
Yeah. Why didn't they just do an outside committee? Why didn't they do like a
parking lot?
Yeah, Cape Town. Why didn't they do like a tailgating like at an American football game style?
Yeah. Except that there will be 10 layers deep of private police and security guards around them to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, Parliament is currently a tent.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Parking lot.
That's true. Okay, maybe they should just do it in the construction side where Parliament currently will one day be. Okay, so other things that you need to know coming up. So there was this whole thing with Julius Malema. I don't know if he was like uncharitably misquoted, but essentially you may have seen a lot of people saying Malema's turned against Mkhwanazi. How could he do this? The EFF said that Mkhwanazi did a good thing and was a champion and was blowing the lid on corruption and bad things within the police. I'm going to literally read you what Malema said so that you can judge for it yourself. Obviously not with his tone or with his flair, but he was talking about the fact that there are ad hoc committees in Parliament that are also investigating Mkhwanazi's claims on that press conference. And they also have work to do that they want to get done. And they also want to call forward witnesses. And they're going to start those hearings next week-ish. So it says between September 16 and 22, which is the same time as the Commission of Inquiry, but a completely different process, which I think is good and important because maybe they can find out things and move faster on some stuff than the Commission can. Because remember, the Commission is only duty-bound to provide reports every 3 months, interim reports, and then a big report, I think, within a year. It's become clear that Mkhwanazi wants to go, well, he'll make himself available to the Madlanga Commission first, and then he will go and speak to the ad hoc committees. So the ad hoc committee chair, whose name is fabulous. Soviet Lekhanyane, what a name, said, with regards to Mkhwanazi, he requested the committee to allow him to continue with other engagements he's already in with the commission until the 24th of September. That is when he said he may be available to come and appear before the committee. And by the way, hilarious if this gets into the water supply in the US. Can you imagine the US, who already is trying to paint us as an evil Russian apparatchik or whatever, being like, they've got a guy called Soviet in parliament. They've literally got a guy called Soviet. That is so crazy. Anyway, Malema responded by saying, we must make one point very clear. We are not going to be told by Mkhwanazi what must happen and what must not happen. If we are looking for him, we must find him, and he's going to make himself available. We are going to make him available. He's the one who started this mess, and he's going to have to take responsibility. Now, for me, that's pretty aggressive. That's pretty confrontational. It makes Mkhwanazi sound avoidant, not wanting to go to the ad hoc committee, and it makes it sound like we are going to make him available. We are going to force him to come and testify to us, which I have to say is weird energy. Because if Mkhwanazi has said, no, I'm just doing the Madlanga Commission first. If he's unavailable until the 24th, that means the commission wants him for a full week to be available to talk about all this stuff. His press conference stuff is the bedrock founding ground, the cornerstone of this entire thing. So they have to thoroughly talk to him first and get as much as possible, because what they get from him in terms of evidence and in terms of testimony enables the whole commission to go and talk to all the other witnesses and bring the police minister and potentially before the commission. Shadrack Sibiya, Brown Mkhwanazi, Kat Matlala, all these people whose names the vast majority of South Africans didn't know even 4 months ago, and now we know them like they're in church with us. Like, of course, Mkhwanazi has to go and do that stuff first. Although Malema makes a very, very fair point that the ad hoc committee is important and is separate from the Madlanga Commission and doing important work, by order of priority, surely the Madlanga Commission is the one that has to get the priority. And then Malema went on and said, he needs to be called. This is about Mkhwanazi. The sooner we call him, the better. We must not create an impression that people can just play over us. If we start on this note, we're not going anywhere. So by quotes, it does feel like that had edge. It does feel like, but I will say that the EFF, like all political parties, likes to put themselves in the center of a narrative. And the Madlanga Commission is not about the EFF. It's not about, if anything, it's like a moratorium on the ANC, even though they don't want it to be a part of. But there are no political superstar parties or people in the Madlanga Commission. Like, there is no opportunity for the EFF or any other party to center themselves yet in the Madlanga Commission. And so this is pretty classic politics by a political party leader who wants to create buzz involving himself and his party about the biggest story in the country right now. And immediately everyone started talking about it. Like, why is Malema coming for Mkhwanazi? Why is he suggesting that Mkhwanazi is like insubordinate or unwilling to play along and talk with the ad hoc committee? Why is Malema saying that? Is Mkhwanazi doing that? And Malema and the EFF came out and basically clarified that they're not anti-Mkhwanazi. He was just trying to emphasize that this also needs to happen, this ad hoc committee. And he might say, well, the ad hoc committee is super important and we don't want its work to get washed away in the public consciousness because the Madlanga Commission is all the headlines. But it did feel weirdly like he was casting aspersions on Mkhwanazi in these statements. One more piece of news linked to this commission that a lot of people have been following. Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, he lost his High Court case yesterday to try and go back to work. For those who haven't been following, he was placed on a special leave within days after Mkhwanazi's press conference because he was implicated in Mkhwanazi's press conference statements. And then he immediately went on to a TV show and just dug himself a massive hole. Absolute head loss, by the way, to immediately go on to a massive TV show to a very revered journalist, it was Griselda Lewis, and basically tie himself in knots. He implied that Mkhwanazi had been sitting on the AKA murder investigation, and then Griselda said, are you saying that Mkhwanazi has been obstructing justice? And he said, no. And it was just like, what are you doing, man? Anyway, after that, he was put on special leave by National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola. Now, Shadrack Sibiya has argued that it was a disguised suspension. That was his line, essentially saying that this was basically a suspension by a cute PR, another name, to get me out of work because Masemola was unhappy with what Shadrack Sibiya had been involved in regarding the political killings task team and taking away those 121 case dockets from them that were sitting gathering dust on his office for months. You know the story. We all know the story. And so Sibiya was essentially saying it was, by all intents and purposes, a disguised suspension. He said that it was an unfair suspension because it didn't follow the due processes that one should go through or have to go through to suspend somebody in the police service. But the High Court essentially said, no, that's silly. It was a stay-at-home order because, like, how could we have you at work when you had been so explicitly named as someone stymieing justice and potentially apparently sitting on case files and dockets for investigation that involved like live arrest warrants over political killings. It made no sense to leave you at work because then everyone would go, wow, he's just gone back to work like nothing's happened. He's in that office with all of those dockets. What could he be getting up to with all of those dockets? Anyway, the court was very clear, and Sibiya's lawyer since then, just this morning, has come out and said that they're not going to appeal that. They're now just going to focus on the Madlanga Commission, which really feels to me. We were talking before the show today about MK taking the DA and ANC to court over the White House meeting with Trump. We're not even going to tell you about it. It's so dumb. But like it's like another reminder to me that I think a lot of people in South Africa use court cases for PR. It doesn't matter whether or not they win. If they lose, it's whatever. And like in this case, he's not going to appeal it. But if they win, then they get to go, look, a court absolved me. Because if he'd been allowed to return to work, he could have spun that. Sibiya could have spun that as, look, they're out to get me and they broke the law and they didn't follow due process. And Masemola, the police commissioner, is trying to take me out and stop me from going to work. They can immediately change the sentiment and the PR buzz around him, the narrative around him before the Madlanga Commission starts. But if he loses the court case, whatever, he focuses on the Madlanga Commission and stays at home. And I think it's very similar to lots of court cases we see in South Africa by all kinds of political parties where they're almost doing it not because a win would get them any great legal consequence or great like material physical win, like going back to work or getting punitive costs or whatever. They're doing it so they can say, look, a court sided with us, which is a kind of, in Sibiya's case, I guess, court washing, justice washing, like sport washing. But in the vast majority of these cases, it's to use the courts and their decisions to make yourself seem like the good guys. Anyway, Shadrack Sibiya did not pull off that attempt. And so he's now going to get ready for the Madlanga Commission from the comfort of his own home.
I think that's something else that's super important to acknowledge is the fact that oftentimes saying you're going to go to court or making a filing or something like that does not mean you're going to court. Something we see with the
DA.
Yeah.
I don't even know why you paused. We've been looking at so many videos of them standing outside, was it Batenkant police station, like in the last few
Western
months?
Cape High Court offices, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's even more to what you're saying is they're not even just trying to, what did you call it? Law wash themselves.
Yes.
Legally wash themselves. Oftentimes people use it as a way to pretend like they're doing something, Afroform, when they're not actually achieving anything.
Yeah.
And I think if we had a more efficient court system, a lot of these people would be found out by getting to court and being like,
no, that's dumb.
yeah, we don't actually have anything in this. The one thing that I'm extremely excited from a legal perspective is the fact that the Madlanga Commission is going to be the Avengers Endgame of this legal thing. We've been speaking about this for so many months.
Although it feels long, but it's actually not been long. It's been 2 months. I know it's crazy to think about. It's only 2 months.
I have aged 10 years having to have watched the story. And I think finally to have all the villains, all the heroes together in the same sandbox and to duke it out, I'm really excited about it.
And by the way, as we have spoken about, in terms of the Avengers or the A-team, the legal team that's been put together by Madlanga with all of those incredible judges and prosecutors is absolutely phenomenal. Okay, now you know all you need to know. Honestly, more things will probably happen before next Wednesday, but with a week to go, we felt like it was time to just reset, take stock, and make sure that we've all got our heads together before next Wednesday.